Thank you, Anna. Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen here and do a slideshow. Okay. My name is Leif, and I am one of the directors with Island Expeditions, and we operate tours down in Belize, Central America. So I'm just going to do a little overview on Belize and some of the experiences that we can offer there, and discuss some of the newish itineraries that we've been developing, and hopefully answer any questions at the end that you might have. But yeah, basically Belize is sort of a Caribbean nation in Central America. It's quite unique in that it has the second largest barrier reef in the world. It has a very diverse culture, beautiful waters. It's sort of on the east coast of Central America, bordered to the north by Mexico, and to the east, or sorry, the west and the south by Guatemala, by a very small sliver on the south, and Honduras also exists down below. The official language there is English. It is a former British colony, and the Queen's English is spoken in schools and in government and so forth, but they do have many local languages and different languages on the street. But it is certainly a unique place in Central America for that. The climate there is subtropical, with the trade winds blowing northeasterly off the open Caribbean. They have very diverse cultures there. Mestizo, which is a mix of the Maya with Spanish. We have the indigenous Maya people. The Creole, which is a mix between African bloodlines and Caucasian bloodlines. Garifuna, which is a unique culture to Central America, where they trace their roots to one slave ship that was shipwrecked, and they populated several islands in the Caribbean, and kept moving and populated the rest of Central America. So there's a very unique story and culture associated with that, certainly in Belize and other nations in Central America. There's Mennonites and Chinese, as well as many other settlers that have arrived in Belize from its sort of colonial past. So here's a map showing where it is in relation to the U.S., Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras. It's a very small nation that borders the Caribbean Sea. And here's an infographic that just shows all the direct flights currently into Belize. Currently, you can fly direct from Canada. The U.S. is the most common, of course. There's many different locations that you can fly into from Belize, as well as Guatemala, El Salvador, and Panama currently to get into Belize. So if you're trying to arrive via plane, then you'll need to land in one of these hub cities and transfer to get into Belize City. Quick facts. Yeah, it's the only English-speaking country in Central America, but the language of the street there is actually what we call Creole, which is a little bit of a misunderstood term. It basically means not of the colony, and there are many different Creoles in the world. The more famous being a French Creole, but in Belize we have an English version, an English Creole. And of course there's three different Mayan dialects. There's Yucatec, there's Mopan, and there's Quechua Maya. Very different languages. Spanish is also widely spoken. and yeah, many different other ones like Germans with the Mennonites and stuff like that too, an old version. So it's a very diverse language. There's many diverse languages spoken in the country. Um, yeah, it's a very quick 2-hour flight from the US. There are currently, as we spoke earlier, direct flights from Canada, US, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Panama. The capital city of Belmopan is in the central part of the country. It's sort of the administrative center of the country. The administration was moved there after Hurricane Hattie in this 1960s, early 1960s, where Belize City was virtually destroyed, so they had to move everything inland into the central part of the country. Belize has a very small population of 400,000, and because of that, their economy to the US, and it is currently 2-to-1. So in Belize, if something costs $10, it is the equivalent of $5 US. And so it's relatively simple to make those calculations in your head. Belize has the second largest barrier reef in the world, other than the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, and obviously it is the largest barrier reef, the Mesoamerican reef in the northern hemisphere. It was formerly British Honduras, but changed the name to Belize in 1973, and it gained its independence from Britain in 1981. Here is a photo of some beautiful indigenous Maya women, and these are Mopan Maya, and from the central part of the country. And here is a Garifuna mask and dance that's happening during their Garifuna Settlement Day in November. And this particular dance is used around Christmas and New Year's, and it is done to sort of mock the former colonial masters. You can see their mask there is formed around a Spanish face, and there it is a lively dance and drumming that happens around Christmas and New Year's. Wonderful experience to see that. Belize as a destination, the main thing that most people will find there is the coral reefs and the offshore atolls. It's an exceptional location for snorkeling, diving, sea kayaking, paddleboarding, that kind of thing. And of course, it's in Central America, so there is a ancient Mayan history, wonderful archaeological sites. There's broadleaf tropical rainforest. There's definitely activities for all adventure levels, whether it's bird watching, archaeology, hiking, swimming, snorkeling, diving, fishing, kayaking, paddleboarding, cave tubing, which is also a unique culture, or unique to Belize, and that we have some underground river systems that flow through caves. And years ago, somebody started floating these underground rivers with tubes, and it's several locations in the country have this, and in fact, most of the Yucatan Peninsula, there are very few rivers, and most of the water travels underground. So these caves are full of their water and that kind of stuff. The cultural heritage in Belize, as we've spoken about the indigenous Maya, the Creole, and the Garifuna cultures are all quite unique. And of course, the biodiversity that we have. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the habitats of Belize. First, we're just going to show a few images and discuss each one. We have the Caribbean savanna and pine ridge, which is sort of the lowlands areas along the coast and the northern parts of Belize. Then we have the broadleaf tropical rainforest, which generally is sort of the western, southern part of the country. And then the Mesoamerican reef, we have the Belize Barrier Reef and the offshore coral atolls. And we'll discuss those two things. So here is a map of Belize, and it just shows some of the physical aspects of it. The lowlands, Caribbean pine and Caribbean savannas are represented here in the beige colors. We have the broadleaf tropical rainforest, which is represented in the green, and you'll see the barrier reef, which goes north to south, which acts as sort of a breakwater along the coast, generally about 10 miles offshore from the mainland. And then you will see there are 3 coral atolls, which are circular reef structures that are further offshore from the main barrier reef. And coral atolls, which we'll discuss a little bit, are more famous in the South Pacific, but the Caribbean basin hosts 4 of them, one of them north of us in the, Mexico, Banco Chinchorro, and then the 3 remaining ones are, we can see right here, Turniff Islands, Lighthouse Reef, and Glover's Reef. So in the north here, we see mainly this sort of lowlands, wetlands, as well as the Caribbean pines. This is a common site in the northern part of Belize, this grasslands savanna. This is what we call more the Pine Ridge. So this is in the foothills of the Maya Mountains. And then as we move a little further west and south, we get into the broadleaf tropical rainforest. It's certainly more lush. And here you can see the sort of triple canopy rainforest, some of the epiphytes, and here we have monkey's ladder, some of the vines. And then we move out to sea. So you can see here the main barrier reef that runs north to south from the Mexican border. Then we have Turniff Atoll, Lighthouse Reef Atoll, and Glover's Atoll that are outside of the main barrier reef. You can see here represented on the map. All of these areas have exceptional snorkeling. Here is some aerial view of the main barrier reef where you can see, and here what we have represented are some of the patch reefs which exist inside of the barrier reef zone, as well as inside the lagoon of the coral atolls. Here we have black mangrove, which is the predominant plant species we find out on the reef, and certainly kind of helps create land. Here are some of the mangrove estuaries that we paddle through, and then of course the beautiful tropical island overlooking the turquoise waters in Belize. So here's just a very short 1-minute video on snorkeling. Just gives you some video imagery of the main barrier reef and the coral atolls. I'll just let the video do the speaking for me here.
Stretching from Bacula Chico to the Bay of Honduras, the coral reefs of Belize are a wondrous world of color and diversity. With an expansive network of marine parks, there are few places on Earth to match the undersea world of Belize. The Belizean reef is comprised of three distinct habitats: mangroves, coral reefs, and seagrass beds, all intimately interlinked to create one of the richest marine ecosystems on the planet. In 1987, Island Expeditions introduced a modern sea kayak to Belize, enabling adventurers to access rarely seen coral reefs and tropical keys. And today, our premier destinations for snorkeling are the Southwater Key Marine Reserve, Glover's Atoll, and the incomparable Lighthouse Reef. Exploring by sea kayak, paddleboard, or motorboat, this stunning underwater world awaits your discovery. Join us in Belize for a snorkeling adventure of a lifetime.
Okay, so just wanted to, I guess, show some of the video images because often that portrays it a little better than just still images, but we'll just go through. Oops, excuse me. Yeah. Technical difficulty, excuse me. Okay, so we'll just talk slightly a little bit about us as Island Expeditions. We specialize in adventure travel in Belize since 1987. We focus on sustainable tourism and cultural immersion. We offer both classic group expeditions and independent travel adventures. We specialize in remote locations outside the typical destinations for the country, so we tend not to focus on the main travel regions like San Pedro and Kikaker and Placencia. We try and get people out into the more natural parts of the country, but we also do have relationships in those locations and can incorporate them into itineraries. Fully customizable trips based on our clients' needs, and we're the only real operator that has access to 2 of the offshore atolls for kayaking and snorkeling, for overnight stays and so forth. So here's an image of one of our facilities. This is our operations base, and this happens to be during the cultural celebrations at Christmas and New Year's, where the dancers come by, and thought it was a great image of Belize for sure. These are Garifuna singers and dancers here. Here's some of our guides teaching sea kayaking and demonstrating, talking about the Belize Barrier Reef System from one of our base camps. This one happens to be at Glover's Reef. Kayak sailing is a really popular activity, and you can see a nice beautiful little islet in the distance that they're sailing to. At the end of a day, always sharing stories and a cold drink, and then of course delicious meals is what our staff and things are designed to accommodate for anybody's dietary restrictions. So we tend to create itineraries on different levels. So depending on what you're looking for, mild, moderate, extreme. We can kind of put together itineraries based on whatever it is that our clients are looking for. Here's again just some of the activities, some sea kayaking. Our classic group expeditions, Lighthouse Reef, we typically will incorporate a 3 or 4 or 7 night trip into a custom trip. These are just some of our itineraries that I'm happy to share with anybody that's of interest. Maya Reef Explorer, Glover's Reef and Maya Mountains. New for this year, we have our double atoll adventure, so an opportunity to visit both Glover's Reef and Lighthouse Reef all in 1 week, and as well as our Epic Belize, which is sort of a real highlight reel of Belize, going to the ATM, or Aktun Tunichil Muknal, we call it ATM for short, Caracol Ruins, Lighthouse Reef, Atoll, all in one. And basically we try and customize each itinerary for our clients based on what you'd like to do, and rebrand them in your for your business. Here's a couple of images of our base camp out at Half Moon Key, the Lighthouse Reef Adventure Camp. These are safari style tents with real wood frame beds and basic amenities, but the access to the activities from this location is second to none. This base camp is at the bottom right elbow in this image. This is an aerial image of Lighthouse Reef Atoll. Right in the center of it is Belize's most famous image, which is the Great Blue Hole, discovered by Jacques Cousteau. Here's a zoom in of that image. It's sort of it's a collapsed cave sinkhole system, and it is an advanced dive to get in there. There are stalactites and stalagmites around the edge of the sinkhole, but we more commonly will snorkel the rim. There's an exceptional snorkel all around the edge of this. So this is about 6 miles north of our camp. So we'll paddle up there and snorkel the rim. This is, just an image off the shore of our base camp here. This is Half Moon Key, and Half Moon Key is a national park. It's in fact the first marine protected area in the entire Caribbean, and the furthest offshore island in Belize. Beautiful islet, and happens to be a area where we have a rookery of red-footed boobies, as well as the magnificent frigate birds. Here are a couple of from some images of the frigates, and there's a red-footed booby, and iguana, or the one that more commonly found on the coast, called the wish willy, we call it in Belize. Here are some nurse sharks, just some blue porgies. Here's some of the boats that we take out to Half Moon Key and Lighthouse Reef. It's about a 55, 60 footer, this one here. This is our dining pavilion, and you can see some of the accommodations off to the left there. Again, the other thing we do are independent travel adventures, much like FITs. We have several established itineraries, and we're also happy to, create custom ones based on whatever the needs of our guests are and clients. Here's some of the inland experiences, some of the reef-based explorers, and just going through a few images here just to wrap up, so I can open up the questions. All right. Thank you very much for your time. I am perfectly happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Amazing live. Thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, you can just raise your hand or leave them on the chat, please. Life, may I ask a question in terms of season? Is there a best season to visit Belize or all year round?
Yeah, I mean, of course, Belize is open year round. There is really there are two seasons: the dry and the wet season. The primary tourist season is during the dry season, and that starts in November and runs through the end of May. And really, the main difference between the seasons is that during the dry season, we don't typically see much rain more than say 20 minutes. We'll get a little bit more rain during the wet season. We can get rain for a few days, or we have as well the possibility of hurricanes or storms in the Caribbean. But basically, the main season for Belize is November through to the end of May.